Well, as long as it feels like we have had to wait for the 2023 Major League Soccer season since Austin last kicked off in the Western Conference Finals in year number 2, there is one club that has been waiting even longer for the start of their Major League Soccer campaign. That is the expansion side, the 29th member of MLS, St. Louis City SC. Their voice, a homegrown product, Joey Zanaboni. Joey, how are you?
Lincoln, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. And thank you to all the great folks down in Austin for welcoming us for the season opener on Saturday.
Yeah, enjoyed. Your front office actually came through last season just to take a look around. I imagine they did that in a variety of cities. But for you, a St. Louis native, I think you're third generation St. Louis. You know about the city, you know its ties to soccer and how it is as a sports community all around. What was the first soccer match you remember growing up?
Well, you're exactly right, Lincoln. I trace my family roots back in St. Louis just over 100 years. My great-grandparents immigrated from northern Italy and settled on the Hill in St. Louis, the Italian-American section that is just so special to my family. And the sport of the Hill and what's become, in many ways, the sport of St. Louis in all those years is soccer. And some of the fondest memories of my childhood are going out, even when I was 2, 3 years old, to my dad's rec league games and indoor games, and then on into my playing career, which admittedly was inglorious, but it was mostly based in the Catholic Schools League here in St. Louis, the CYC programs that have been so vital, introducing youngsters to soccer in this great community. And to have this chance it's just so special for me, for my family, and I think for this community as well, because I started on those sidelines. I would sit and announce the games for my 4 younger sisters when my brother was playing. And those memories are so special to me. I just can't wait to share it with St. Louis and beyond.
You mentioned that in a great handwritten letter that you sent out to folks when you were officially announced as the first ever radio voice. For now, we'll say the greatest ever St. Louis City SC radio voice, Joey Zanaboni. I want to ask that
good company.
I want to ask that the folks tuning in, especially on YouTube, don't click on all of the other videos that YouTube's suggesting right now that you're a participant with your various calls in, because I'm worried we won't get them back for a while. Joey has had a myriad of entertaining calls at all sorts of stops. He doesn't just do soccer, basketball, volleyball, you name it. It has decorated his career so far. Still a young career, Joey, a prodigy thus far here in the game. But hey, what when you went off to college at Rockhurst in Kansas City, what did you think you were going to do with your life?
Well, wonderful of you to give a shout out to Rockhurst University, home of the world's shortest football field, American football field. No football team there since 1949. So we do proudly claim that. It's a great soccer school, though. I think in the years that I was there, if you include the year right after I graduated, the men's program made 3 D2 Final Fours in 5 years. And of course, are coached by the legendary Tony Tocco, the all-time NCAA soccer wins leader at any level with any program. So it's very special out there. A lot of the players don't just come from Missouri, St. Louis, and Kansas City, but through some different connections through the years, a lot of the players come from Italy as well, which was really special for me, having a chance to welcome some people from the country that I trace my heritage back to America. When I walked in the door, I can't believe I'm saying this, walked in the door 14 years ago at Rockhurst University. You can blur that out. You don't have to say 14. I'm dating myself there. But, when I walked in the door, I wasn't sure, like many college students, who I was or what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up studying English literature with a concentration in poetry. And so I think my college years, even though I remained a big sports fan and would be out at the soccer field watching the great program and having a lot of fun as well in the supporters section. Sometimes the administration maybe thought, a little bit too much fun. But even though I was out there at that stuff, I was, tucking into a lot of poetry, reading and writing and exploring theater and things like that. And that's really where that love of words was cultivated and allowed to bloom. So I look back on those days at Rockhurst, even though it's not maybe that kind of name brand, jump right at you, everybody knows what sports they play and who the players are kind of school. I look back on that time as being so formative in my career and very special to me.
You grew up again in St. Louis. That's not just a hotbed for sports, but it's a hotbed for legendary announcers, whether it be the Buck family, the Carey family. I know
Yes.
there are some folks who don't already have a famous father who went on to be great announcers there as well. But you combine that with the fact that when you're young and you decide to become a broadcaster, a lot of us immediately envision down the road, when I'm where I want to be, I'm going to sound like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in your career did you decide it's okay not to sound like that guy, but to be who I am?
Yeah, in St. Louis, there's always somebody that knows somebody. I can't tell you the number of people through the years who have said, "Hey, I met Bob Costas in a Walmart once. Let me get you in touch with him," kind of thing. You're always just a step or two away from the Bucks, the Costases, the Careys. So it really is a cool place growing up. And as a kid, for me, the biggest influences were Mike Shannon, who at the time was working with Jack Buck as a play-by-play announcer, and they would basically trade off innings. So they'd work as each other's analyst as well in the Cardinal games. And then Ken Wilson, who was involved with the Cardinals a little bit, but was really known as being the Blues announcer, and whose catchphrase, "Oh, baby," still makes the hair on my neck stand up. I just remember being on the couch, 6 inches from the TV. Mom and dad are saying, "Hey, maybe turn down the volume and get away from the screen a little bit there." But I was so glued to it. And I don't think you ever really get, past that. I still look at those times and what they did. It was a little bit of a different era, but what they were doing, and many of these St. Louis broadcasters continue to do, and see how it influences me. For myself, I always think about being at Coahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi. I worked there 2014 to 2017. It's a historically Black junior college in Northwest Mississippi, Coahoma County. And in that area, it's the home of blues music. It's the home of so many great musicians who have come through Clarksdale. The list is almost too long to enumerate completely. I just remember the first night I was down there, I actually stayed in a hotel room that Sam Cooke used to live in. And people from that area, whether it's going all the way back to the legendary Robert Johnson, whether it's going to Sam Cooke, whether it's going to Kingfish, who's a very popular blues musician right now, who's still just a teenager. It's such an incredible tradition, and it's such cohesive and special community. Having a chance to work down there, I really started to realize there's another way of looking at sports broadcasting that has more of that entertainment feel that you're going to hear from blues singers and soul singers here at the great clubs in Clarksdale. In fact, Ground Zero Blues Club is actually owned by Morgan Freeman, who goes down to Clarksdale quite a bit. And I just felt like there was a different perspective that I got from working there, and not just toward professional pursuits, but toward life itself. And through my next couple of stops, I kind of carried that over and started to look for different ways where I could maybe go beyond just the information sharing of the broadcast work. I do think my early work, especially, and I still fall into this trap, was more stats and analytics and things like that. And sometimes the entertainment value got buried, under the surface. And so I started to look for those opportunities and seek those a little bit more actively as a result of that 3-year experience I had at Coahoma, and just thrilled to be able to bring that back to my hometown with City.
Your summers obviously now are going to be filled with soccer, but I think the latter a lot of young announcers look to is the minor league baseball system. First time your calls landed on my radar, you were in the Washington Nationals system. I want to say first time your calls landed on my radar because you and I actually met back in 2018 when you were wrapping up your tenure as the voice in Grand Prairie of the Air Hogs. Their stadium has since been converted to a cricket field, but you were nice enough to come up while I was calling the Division II baseball national championships that Westchester of Pennsylvania went on to win that year. They had a nice
and they jumped in the hot tub.
But that's right. That you had the pool and the hot tub out there in right field. Gone too soon. But you had stops there in Grand Prairie, and you even more recently were in San Antonio, helping out St. Mary's University, which has a special place in my heart. Got my law degree there while I called their sports, and just as notable as you and myself at St. Mary's was, of course, their former, I think, backup bullpen catcher, Brian Anderson, who's now the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers, as well as the national voice of Major League Baseball's postseason with Turner and all of them. But you have not shied away from getting out of your backyard of the Show Me State, traveling around the country. How special is this to come back home and be a part of something unique for St. Louis?
Well, let me go ahead and first say about Airhawks Stadium. I love the Airhawks. I don't know. You could pay me enough money to jump in that hot tub, unless I was wrapped in saran wrap. That's all I'll say about that. I love that those guys from Westchester did it. I think on my very last day, I was with that team for 3 years, Grand Prairie, just outside of Dallas. And I think on the very last day, I said, all right, I'm going to jump in now. So I actually got it one time, but phenomenal memories, unbelievable memories. I love the state of Texas. I consider Texas to really be my second home. Lived there for 3 summers with the Airhogs, had a chance to be at St. Mary's for 1 year, had a chance even to explore Austin just a little bit, was living in North San Antonio, just about an hour drive, and had a chance to get up there. I always felt like Texas was a great place to be yourself. And whether I was with the Airhogs or whether I was with St. Mary's, I always felt very welcome to explore my style, take some risks and do some experiments and just have fun with it, make it a show and make it entertainment. It's obviously a state that prizes its sports, maybe more than any other state in the union. And I just love it. I love all the relationships that I have there. When this was announced just yesterday and kind of in the few weeks leading up to it, where I felt like, I've got kind of this on my radar potentially, I thought it was fitting to open up in Austin and to open up really in this place that I consider to be a second home. Just terrific. And I think there's a cool connection with Brian as well. I really look up to the guy. I think that he does an amazing job of just making the games exciting. No matter if it's basketball, baseball, no matter the moment, I always feel like I hear that energy dripping out of his voice, and happy to be represented by the same agency as him, if management. It really is kind of one of those full circle moments to bring that together for me. And I think the road, talking about getting out of Show Me State and talking about getting out of Missouri, I love Missouri. I'm someone who considers St. Louis to be my home. So proud to be here with City. Those experiences on the road, whether it was in Texas, Virginia, Tennessee with the Johnson City Cardinals, former Cardinal affiliate, Pensacola, Florida, Clarksdale, Mississippi, it teaches you so much about yourself and gives you an idea of how other people perceive sports. What do they want out of the experience of both the broadcast, and how do they find identity in these different places through their sports teams? And sometimes when you're from an area and you kind of already know how that is, you can take that for granted a little bit. To be able to get that outsider's perspective and now come back to St. Louis permanently for this opportunity, I mean, it's given me a deeper appreciation for both homes, for my home, and for all those great communities that I was able to make my homes in. And I think that that's something that I really cherish.
Final note on Brian, and I just realized he's the first announcer I ever reached out to ask, how do you call soccer? That was early in my career. I noticed he was calling the Big 12 Soccer Championship
Really?
with Fox in San Antonio at Blossom Soccer Field.
Wow.
And now over a decade later, I get to sit in that chair. Most recently with ESPN, before that with FS1. But he has been a great resource to many broadcasters over the years. So you are the first voice of St. Louis on English radio. What are other firsts that Austin fans should know about? First player signing, anything else that's already been checked off that checklist? Obviously, when the season starts on Saturday here in Austin, there will be plenty more firsts that you all will be pursuing.
Well, I'd have to say the first that I always think of is that first home game at City Park. That's going to be March 4th, 7:30 here in St. Louis. Going to be a huge party. Make sure you're with us throughout the day, all the City fans. And Lincoln, I know you might be busy, but I'm going to throw you an invitation as well. I'm going to say, hey, just in case anything gets canceled, you get up to City Park as well. I'm going to throw an arm around you, as I will with each and every fan. I mean, this is so special for this city. It's a massive party. There's going to be a big time concert on Lou Fuse Plaza the day before to get everybody pumped up. Metro Boomin's going to be playing. This is a special group. And talk about a first as well. I'd have to say the first head coach who was the first pick of Lutz Pfannenstiel, our sporting director. He hired Bradley Carnell and immediately said, we got the guy we wanted. This was our first overall pick. There were a lot of people that were interested in this job. There was some speculation about who might get it. We said we want to go with Bradley. Calm, cool, collected, did a fantastic job as an interim with the New York Red Bulls. He's got a system that is very much in sync with the club's preferred system. Lutz Pfannenstiel and him work so closely to develop this and to find the right players for it. Talk about another great first, Roman Berkey, the first goalkeeper to don the city red. And I don't think we could be in better hands than that. I mean, this guy has unbelievable experience in the Bundesliga. He's someone who's well known across the world as a solid goalkeeper at Dortmund. And he was another guy that said that opportunity to start this franchise, to put down those first stones here in St. Louis, that's something that's really appealing to me. Jared Stroud, name that you know well, someone that Lutz Pfannenstiel, Bradley Carnell, they immediately out of the gate said, let's get this guy. Edward Leuven, who's going to be key in the middle. Roman's our first captain. We can't forget about our first vice captain, though, as well. Tim Parker, someone who's played in Texas with Houston in the MLS. I mean, these names are incredible. Obviously, I have to shout it out. He's gonna be upset if I don't. The first ever goal scored at City Park, Joao Klaus, special center forward, a true 9. That's why he actually wears the number 9. There was a closed door scrimmage I was privileged and lucky enough to go out to City Park and see against Atlanta United. Brilliant goal set up in the middle by Edward Leuven. And Klaus put it home, deflected ball that got into the back of the net. He actually scored a second, and I'm still in my mind because it's unofficial. I still count it. Klaus got waved off because of offsides. But it would have been even better. I mean, Rang went off the inside post. My, oh my, just absolutely precise and clinical. Great finisher with a nose for the net, prioritizes scoring. I mean, I'm almost worried about filling up the next 15 minutes or so with just these other firsts. I have to just give one more and have to say that there's the one of one that really stands out to me and I think is so special for this community. Carolyn Kindle is our owner. MLS team that's majority female owned, setting a trend and setting a standard for the rest of this league that'll be looked back on in history, not just for St. Louis, but for all of professional sports in America and across the globe as a standard setter because of that. Carolyn, her family, unbelievable examples for this community. And what she is doing, what the ownership group is doing after so many years of trying to get this MLS franchise in St. Louis. And yes, a couple of false starts, through the many years of MLS, mid-90s on, finally to accomplish this and to do it the right way is going to be looked on with not just a nod of approval, but with a smile and a fist pump by the people that look back on the MLS and many years down the line.
Yeah, I want to remind the Austin fans who aren't quite as familiar with the storyline. Again, St. Louis had another MLS bid just a few years ago that came up just short. At the same time, saw their NFL franchise ripped away from them heading back to LA. This will be a much welcomed addition to the community and the city, something to rally around. Both Austin and St. Louis have something in common. The first players to wear the colors are not on the first team. Austin had its academy going before its first year in 2021. St. Louis City last year, in the first year of MLS Next Pro, already had City 2 out there. How much carryover will there be from the players that fans got to know in City 2, as opposed to, because it was a very successful season for you all, as opposed to how much will that stay with City 2 for the foreseeable future in terms of the makeup of the team?
Well, let me just start in the broadcast booth. My partner, Dale Schilly, on Y98, he is the director of the St. Louis City Academy program. Had a chance to just go down to the training facility with him and get a tour, not just of the actual building, but meeting some of the players, meeting the coaches, and going through what Dale's day-to-day responsibilities are. It's about as thorough of an operation as I've ever seen in terms of developing youngsters, both from this area and from across the globe, to learn this system of Lutz Pfannenstiels, learn this system of Bradley Carnell's, learn how they fit in on the field, and help them develop as young players and young people as well. It's really, really cool to be a part of. And so Dale is someone who has been involved so many years in St. Louis and kind of greater St. Louis into Illinois soccer. He's doing a fantastic job. And I think the developmental aspect with the MLS Next Pro, I think the results more or less speak for themselves. Won the Western Conference, thrilling W at Ralph Cordy Stadium in Edwardsville, Illinois, on the campus of SIUE, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, over the Tacoma Defiance. One of the most exciting games that I've seen in a long, long time. Took a 2-0 lead. Just absolutely scintillating finish by Tomas Ostrak. You're going to see him on the field in Austin on Saturday. That got him an early lead in the first half. A lot of great players who ended up defending that lead. Kyle Hebert, Missouri State alum, first guy to ever win a Missouri Valley Conference back-to-back Defender of the Year award. He was the Iron Man for that MLS Next Pro team. I think there were only 4 minutes that he did not play on the MLS Next Pro field. I mean, they could not get this guy off the field. And he did an unbelievable job to prove that he belongs with the MLS team. And now he's going to be a vital part of that back line here for the opener in Austin. So many great players who appeared in at least some capacity for City 2. Roman Berkey played a handful of games for them. There's a lot to learn out on that field against some good competition. I remember, Tacoma, they had a couple guys from the Sounders who were more kind of MLS, and they, showed up for the Western Conference Championship. High level of play, great opportunity. And John Hackworth, assistant coach with the MLS team, head coach, MLS Next Pro. Hacks, I don't know how you could do a more thorough job. This man radiates passion. He radiates energy. In fact, he races bikes, like pedal your bike on gravel competitively through a couple of different programs. And I had a chance to talk to him about it. I said, I've been in sports a long time. I've worked in several sports. I'm not sure I've met people who are in this competitive sort of speed bicycle racing. And he said, it's just another outlet for my passion and for my energy. He comes out there and he inspires people with that. And he inspired a great group of young players. A lot of them are really going to be vital parts of what City does on the MLS side. And I think they performed well at a friendly against Bayer Leverkusen from the Bundesliga, came to City Park and actually opened up City Park with an exhibition game back in the fall against a mix of players who were with City 2, some who had not appeared with City 2, but were with City 2. And they made quite a splash. I think the players that were there and were on that City 2 side, I mean, they showed they can compete with a team that's coached by Xabi Alonso. The Barcelona legend was on the sidelines, and I think they showed that they can go toe-to-toe. Did not get the result, but the long stretches of positive play were really something to build on for this team.
When you see that first starting 11 on Saturday, again, Austin FC hosting St. Louis City SC for the first ever match in the inaugural season of St. Louis. It is 7:30 this Saturday at Q2 Stadium. It'll be available to watch for free on Apple TV. It's in front of the subscription paywall, but I would advise folks find their good old-fashioned radio and tune in to Joey if you're in the St. Louis area. We'll have more on that in a moment. But when you're calling that match and you see the lineup come out, is there a position battle that you've been following that you'll be interested to see who gets the starting nod?
As I said, I had a chance to see a closed-door scrimmage. What you can take out of that, what kind of translates to a week later, is obviously contingent on what Lutz, Bradley, all the great coaches and staff are seeing this week, evaluating as the guys do their internal work and their internal scrimmaging. I think I have a pretty good idea, though. Now, I say that maybe that's the false confidence of the broadcaster coming out. I think I have a pretty good idea of who they want to go with based on, everything, based on performance, based on the matchup, based on who's healthy and available. I think I have a pretty good idea of what they are trying to do. And without giving away too much, of course, I'll just say that the player that I think really holds it together quite well in the middle is an attacking midfielder named Edward Löwen. He's played with the German Olympic team. He's got great international experience. And it wasn't just what I saw on the field, but having a chance to kind of talk with him for just about a minute around that preseason matchup against Atlanta United, I said, there's something kind of special about this guy. When you're in that interior midfield, you've got to play so many roles. He's known as an attacking mid, but there's so much more to that position. He's got a nose to move forward, but he can get back first to almost every ball he gets to, plays hard and challenges guys. I think that's something that Lutz and Bradley have been very clear about. We want these guys to challenge on tackles. Don't kind of hang back tentatively and let them make the first move. Be aggressive, go for turnovers. And I just think there's something special about this guy, Edward Löwen. He's going to set up as he did in that preseason matchup, Klaus quite a bit for some of these finishes, knows the right positioning on the field, and he does a great job, I think, to balance the creativity of a playmaker with that sort of more regimented, I've got to be in this spot then. He's got that understanding of the game that I think is really going to be useful for this team.
Again, it's a team that's led by a man with connections to the Red Bulls. Of course, that's the other connection to Jared Stroud before he was with Austin, came up through that system as well. I look forward to seeing a former Verde and Black member back in Austin. So again, tuning in, pardon me, tuning into your call. We want to remind folks that this first year on Apple, only the home radio is available on that drop down. So it's critical. If you're trying to avoid the national announcers and you want those good feelings about St. Louis, you might get stuck with this voice unless you know how to find Joey on the radio. I'll also mention that for syncing purposes, finding it over the air as opposed to streaming his call probably will get you the fastest possible goal call out of Joey. Remind us where they can find you in the St. Louis area and what your coverage will include.
Saturdays are for soccer here in St. Louis. That's why we're on Y98 starting at 7:00. We'll have a half-hour pregame show. Myself, Dale Schilly, talking not just about the matchup, but really talking about the emotions around this event. Finally opening up in the MLS. It's all live for you, Y98. We've also got some great crossover with KMOX as well. I'll actually be appearing on KMOX 11:20 tomorrow with Dale to preview the upcoming season, 11:30 a.m. Central Time here in St. Louis. Make sure you're with us there. And there's a great Spanish language broadcast as well. A couple of friends of mine who I go way back with. I actually announced indoor soccer as part of the same radio team as Santiago and Hector. They're on KXOK, do a phenomenal job. And so thankful for City and their inclusivity, their drive toward that, to have a Spanish language feed that's going to be every bit as exciting as what we'll bring to you live on 98.1 FM, Y98 here in St. Louis. We're going to be talking to Lutz. We're going to be talking to Bradley. We're going to be talking across the spectrum to players, fans, coaches. Now, listen, I wanted to wait until after the interview here to ask you this, Lincoln, but is there any way we can get McConaughey on here?
I have a pretty good sense you'll get to spot him out there in his finest green.
I might recognize him. All right, now listen, if we can just get an all right. You're listening to St. Louis City Soccer right here on Y98, something like that. We'll call his agent though. I know you don't represent him. It's gonna be. You never know. You never know.
I have a feeling he's come across your Uncle Gary at some point in his life.
Uncle Gary, Yeah, Uncle Gary helped him finally win that Oscar, man. After all those years, he was the guy in the background pulling the strings. It's just going to be so incredibly special, and we look forward to the day that Raw broadcast will be available on the Apple TV side as well.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll be back home though as well, March 4th, 7:30 at City Park, and we'll have the option as you'll have this week the drop down to switch over on Apple TV. Now, does that do anything different for you? I just had to ask this broadcaster. Does that do anything different to you, knowing that it's another feed, a TV feed?
Yeah, the problem is video keeps you accountable. And through the first 2 seasons on the radio broadcast for Austin FC is averaging 10 goals a match and is undefeated and has lifted every trophy ever. So I may have to stick a little bit closer to what the folks on the video broadcast are seeing. I do want to let Austin fans know we are back on Alt 97.5 FM this year, 3rd straight year partnering with iHeart. The great benefit of that is they can also stream for free on the iHeart Radio app around the globe. So anytime you can't get in front of your MLS season pass and find us on that drop down, you can find us there again, as well as over the FM airwaves on 97.5. Roger Valdivieso is also back on the Spanish side, so it will not be a barren press box altogether. It's not going to give you those Last of Us vibes up there. There's still going to be plenty of salad for the press box area as usual, and maybe a few brownies will be left over 3 hours before the match gets started. Joey, from Greyhound racing in Pensacola, Florida, to now Major League Soccer in St. Louis, your career has perhaps even dabbled in a few more stops than mine. Congratulations.
Well,
so
you.
Deserving and so special. I'll say this as somebody from Austin who gets to call the club in his backyard. So special to have this fall on you and get you be the one who connects your community with your team.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Lincoln. You know what it's like to have the opportunity to be in your hometown, how special it is for family and friends. And for myself, I'm a well-worn traveler. From those experiences in Clarksdale, I've always considered myself to be something of a bluesman. And, to have an opportunity to come back home and just bring that excitement to Y98, to Apple TV, Odyssey, iHeart, opportunities to stream these games all over the place. I mean, it truly is an incredible effort. And whether you're catching a little piece of one of these games on Apple TV, whether you're getting that Spanish language broadcast on KXOK, you're catching a little bit of one of our shows on KMOX here in the St. Louis area, I want to create something that reflects the incredible, deep, abiding passion of this great soccer city. I'm just honored to do it.
We're recording this on Thursday. That should give everybody who's not familiar with your work plenty of time now to go watch all the highlights and all the viral moments from your career. And that should conclude that rabbit hole just in time for Austin and St. Louis. First match on the Major League Soccer calendar for Austin. First match ever for St. Louis City SC. Saturday, Q2 Stadium, shortly after 7:30 Central Time will be the kickoff. Again, his live coverage starting at 7 o'clock with a half-hour pregame. We will go live at 7:30 on Alt 97.5. Joey, appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you over the years in the Western Conference and some great battles to come. Congratulations on the journey. I look forward to seeing you Saturday.